Good morning, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Have a good day and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this Thursday morning. And it looks like the criminal organization known as the FBI was busted stealing $86 million from the bank from private citizens after they misled a judge, and issuing a warrant for them to go in there and seize the funds. This is absolutely criminal what we currently see happening with the FBI agency. They've been criminalized for a while now, but it's really wide and open now. And you should be very wary of this organization. So let's dive into what we have here. Coming to us from the post-millennial states this the FBI seized $86 million and private assets after deceiving the magistrate to obtain a search warrant. In other words, they stole $86 million. While the FBI had planning to seize the assets, the affidavit backing up the warrant stated they would not be doing so. So here we go. The FBI obtained a search warrant for Beverly Hills, Los Angeles business that operate in a safe deposit boxes and used it as a means to pry open private boxes and seize the cash and assets inside. The warrant said they believe the business was engaged in criminal activity. But in execute the warrant, they searched and seized assets not belonging to the business but to their customers. It has now been revealed that the warrant that the FBI used to obtain access to the business charging that the company was involved in a conspiracy to sell drugs and launder money in the safe deposit boxes or business related to customers misled the judge, who authorized it. The LA Times reported. The part that was misleading was the search warrant did not show the FBI intended to make a permanent consultation of everything inside every box containing at least $5,000 in cash or goods. A senior FBI agent recently testified. According to the LA Times, FBI Laura Emler said that the warrants were executed properly, and at no time was a magistrate misled as to the probable cause used to obtain the warrants. The FBI contends that U.S. private vaults was a magnet for criminal hiding illicit proceeds in their boxes. Box holders. The LA Times report would likely to raid to police barging into a building 700 apartments, and taking every tenant possessions, when they have evidence of wrongdoing but by nobody but the landlord. To those who had their possessions seized where Paul and Jennifer sit, no, they are part of the class action after their private property was seized in March of 2021. The Institute for Justice reports that Stint now use the U.S. private vaults to secure family heirlooms as well as Paul's private flight last, because it was convenient with a good location and better hours and options. The raid was a result of an indictment accusing the U.S. private vaults the business of money laundering other crimes, but executed warrant. The government didn't just seize the company's business property. The Institute for Justice writes upon the pretense of wanting to take relatively worthless metal racks boxes, federal agents broke into every security deposit box and emptied them of their contents. The FBI made a video record of the contents of each box, including opening up sealed envelopes and holding the letters that they contain up to the camera, and the FBI initial civil for forfeiture proceedings against millions of dollars of property without telling box holders they were accused of wrongdoing. Again, if they want to bust a big money laundering scheme, they might want to look into the Ukraine and us sending billions of dollars over the Ukraine, up to $86 billion or $89 billion now to Ukraine. Maybe you would want to start there, or maybe we could check on the sex trafficking of children. That will be relevant. Oh, you got pulled those guys off to investigate Trump and to go steal private property from citizens. This cartel is out of control. They need to be dismantled. The FBI agency needs to be dismantled and dispersed, and people who have done crimes such as this and the Fed hoax and everything else needs to be charged and taken to prison. That is the resolution. This is what you must do once you become in power, is to take out agencies like this who have gone rogue. And next new, and so apparently that's all it took. All it took for Jen Psaki, to be just a little bit honest, was for her to change jobs. Well, would you look at that? Everyone kept praising Jen Psaki, and even now Korean Jean-Pierre Jen Psaki 2.0. Except 10 times worse as being so honest and returning integrity to the White House press secretary position. A complete farce. Even left-wing Joe Rogan laughs at that idea, or laughs at that notion. But don't you find it funny how Jen Psaki was so utterly dishonest her entire time as press secretary, refusing to answer any questions, refusing to be even remotely honest or fair or impartial when it came to the brand and regime, of course, the regime that she was hired to defend and protect against all statistics and facts that pointed otherwise. The moment she leaves that position and joins MSNBC, all of a sudden the truth starts to seep out at least just a little bit, as Jen Psaki, showing up as a panelist on Chuck Todd's Meet the Press at MSNBC, just claimed that if the midterm election is a referendum on the president, Democrats will lose. She's essentially saying Joe Biden is a disaster. And if it's a referendum on the president, it's game over for the DNC, if even Jen Psaki saying it. Well, then you know what that means. Let me show you guys exactly what she said. Let's talk about it. And then let's go a little bit into the White House strategy ahead of the midterms and why I think it's doomed to fail. We've got some stuff to get into, friends, so let's roll the tape. Alright, folks, so take a look at this. They will lose. Jen Psaki concedes the Democrats can't let midterms be about Biden. Former White House press secretary Jen Psaki conceded on Sunday that if the Democrat Party allowed the first approaching midterm elections to be a referendum on President Joe Biden, that they would certainly lose. Jen Psaki, who just recently transitioned from her gig at the Biden White House to a position at MSNBC, joined Sunday morning for a broadcast of Meet Press. And she told anchor Chuck Todd that if the Democrats were wise, they would intentionally try to keep, particularly the Republican Party. Take a look at this. I'm not sure how that's either really effective or you're trying to get the voter to take two issues and time together to you're trying too hard. I don't know. But an interesting response. Well, is it just me, or did Jen Psaki just essentially admit the quiet part out loud that the Biden White House with this whole semi-fascism nonsense is merely playing politics? It's merely a political distraction away from this failed regime, even dishonest lying hack atop a Biden regime propagandist, or I guess in this case, ex-top Biden regime propagandists. Jen Psaki can admit that. Isn't it funny how the moment she steps out of her role, all of a sudden, she has at least this very limited ability to kind of tell the truth. I mean, to be completely honest, it was probably more of a Freudian slip, if anything. I think what she was really trying to do is advocate for the Democrats to continue calling Republicans MAGA, racists and semi-fascists, and who knows what the next Republican caricatures is going to be, essentially trying to turn Donald Trump in the Republican Party, and Trump supporters as cartoon villains. That seems to be their strategy. And Jen Psaki seems to be saying, do more of that, and let's actually focus on, policy and the current performance of this administration. Man, I cannot stand these people and their cynical politicking. This shows you exactly who the Democrats are. It shows you what the establishment world of politics is all about. What Joe Biden should be doing, what the Democrats should be doing ahead of the midterms, is telling you what they're going to do for you, how they're going to fix the economy, how they're going to balance the budget, how they're going to secure the border and make safe communities, how they're going to deliver for the American people. But instead, they are telling you outright now that their strategy is to inject venom into the political discussion, into the political sphere, and to continue their demonization of their political opponents. That is disgusting. But unfortunately, it's also par for the course. You have a group of people that somehow stumbled into power, screwed everything up. It actually goes back to the same metaphor that I was constantly using when we were making Jen Psaki videos months and months ago. Her job is essentially to clean up the room before the American people, which are in this case represented as the mother or the father checking in on the child to see if they're tidying up their room. And what Jen Psaki does is take everything and shove it in the closet right before the parent walks in. Well, that's exactly what's going on here. This room GM has screwed everything up, and instead of actually cleaning up their damn mess, they are in total denial of reality mode. That is all we are seeing. The Daily Wire actually had a piece on the same topic: White House midterm plan deny reality. The White House cannot admit the truth about the state of the country, so they are doing the next best thing, denying any problem exists at all, especially as it relates to the economy, the border, and life in the womb. Biden, known for tall tales and wandering aimlessly, apparently has his press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre focused on dodging any difficult question. Instead, she simply spews nonsense. On Friday, Karine Jean-Pierre stated that Biden is working to bring down inflation without sacrificing all of the historic gains that we made this past year, and life-changing economic gains this country has made over the last 19 months. What life-changing gains like the stock market being down 20 to almost 30%. Across the board, most tech stocks down 60%. Historic gains, folks, absolute morons. Excuse my French. Historic economic gains, like average household spending more than $5,000 a year on basic necessities, historic economic and financial gains. I'm actually getting angry just covering this all. They're doing is denying reality. I mean, last week, Korean Jean-Pierre literally said that the border is secure. In the last less than 2 years, there have been, I believe, roughly around 3.6 million border apprehensions. Does that sound like a secure border to you now? Correct me if I'm wrong? I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. But I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say that's probably more than Donald Trump's 4 years combined. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And if it's not correct, it's certainly close to correct. The border is secure. There's no border crisis. There's no recession. We're in a period headed towards slow economic growth. The stock market's not crashing. We're making historic gains. Wages aren't down. Wages are up. Am I stupid? When you look at me, even though I don't have a face cam on, does it say stupid on my forehead? Is how I feel every single time I listen to Joe Biden or Korean Jean-Pierre speak. Frankly, the whole lot of them actually on that whole border is secure thing. A conservative journalist called Jen Psaki of all people on the street and asked her for comment. An intimidating SCOTUS justices totally acceptable to the left. Asking Jen Psaki a question in relation to dishonest messaging coming out of the current White House with its targeted erase me absolutely stupid. But the video itself makes the point for me that American people, regular people, have questions. They have questions and they're demanding answers. They're demanding solutions to their problems and answers to their questions. And all they're getting from this regime and the orbit that surrounds it is a whole load of nothing, a whole load of coping, propaganda, lies, and total denial of reality. And now Jen Psaki is essentially telling us the quiet part out loud. That's basically the strategy. That's the status quo. That's just the way politics is. Politicians politicking avoid the current actual reality because it doesn't benefit us and rather distract about this supposed ID extremists threat on the other side. And how funny is that Democrats win on the discussion of extremism, says the party of third trimester abortion, says the party burning down communities, says the anti-free speech and anti-civil liberties party, says the party enabling crime and releasing criminals. Yeah, you know, that party that wants small government and less taxation and secure borders. That's the party of extremism. They tell you that's the party that you should be scared of. I don't even know if the American people are buying that one, folk, but that seems to be the Democrat Hail Mary play, and I don't know. Seems to me like a cynical strategy, seems to be utterly dishonest. Seems to me that this whole thing of political extremism and domestic political extremists threat seems like that's probably at the bottom of the list when it comes to priorities for likely voters. I think what likely voters are looking at is the economy, and I don't know results, policy results. And no matter how much the Democrats try to steer the conversation the other way with all of their cynical, despicable, slanderous, defamatory tactics, at the end of the day, the Democrats always make this mistake. They're underestimating the basic intelligence of the average American voter. Most people can see right through this stuff, and most people are going to cast their votes as a direct referendum on the current Democrat leadership at the end of the day, just like Joe Biden said all of those months ago, actually was over a year ago at this point after the whole Afghanistan debacle, or rather, let me rephrase that, what he was forced to say after the whole of Afghanistan withdrawal failure. At the buck stops with him at the end of the day. That's true. That is absolutely correct. The buck stops with the Democrat leadership currently in charge, and I think that's probably exactly what we're going to see during these midterms. Jen Psaki seems to be warning all the vote blue, no matter who. Democrats watching MSNBC have that clear, imminent reality. Hopefully you folks enjoyed this chat this morning. Thank you.